Hello, it's time for a look at some more S-Bus mixer features because I've added MIDI in and MIDI out. And this was because about a year ago it was brought to my attention through one of the comments on a previous video from Mr. Cohagen, who pointed out that MIDI is just UART. Actually, I'm not sure if he said that in his comment, but yeah, maybe look into it. MIDI is just a UART connection. I didn't realize that. So yeah, Mr. Cohagen, it's all your fault. Look what you made me do. I had to buy one of these things because I just couldn't put it out of my head after I saw that comment, and I thought, I'm just going to have to try this. So what we have here is an S-Bus mixer, and we have a servo connected to that, and a fly sky receiver running iBus, or putting iBus signal into there. And then we have a grid, or an array of 64 RGB LEDs. More importantly though, we have this Akai, what is this, MPD232 MIDI controller. And what this does is it sends MIDI messages over the USB into the computer here that's running GarageBand. And also it's taking MIDI in from the S-Bus mixer, and it's putting MIDI out to the S-Bus mixer as well. And this can generate, for those who don't know about MIDI, there's two main types of messages. One is a note, like that, so it's like some sort of a music event happened, and then there's also controls. And in the case of this, I've just sort of set the this slider control to move that servo there. It's just got a piece of foam board stuck on it so you can see it a bit easier. That's this one there. And as you saw, these notes, we're playing a piano there. Oops. So these squares here are just mapped to squares on there, and as you can see, these pads here are pressure sensitive and velocity sensitive. So pressure means obviously if I push hard we get lighter, brighter light on there. The colors are just randomly sort of cycling around just to give a bit of variety. And it's also, of course, like all of these events can happen at the same time, which is pretty neat. So I'm just pressing on there, and we're not getting any sound because I didn't give it enough velocity. If you've ever played a piano, you'll know that if you push the keys very softly, you don't get any sound because inside there's a hammer that has to strike the strings to actually make some noise, right? So this is showing the velocity sensitivity there. It's quite a nice little unit, this one. These pads are made for drums really, and I set up another, and I'm using these buttons here. Maybe you can, hopefully you can see that over there. The little SMD LEDs are turning off and on the S-Bus mixer. They just match these LEDs here. And these were to give me, when I switch down an octave, now we get different color set. So these ones are not randomized. They stay at the same color every time. So that bottom left one is always red. And that was for playing them drums. This GarageBand, this is free GarageBand. I couldn't believe it. When I saw how good the sounds were. Well, that didn't quite go how I was planning. Anyway, those colours were just sort of an excuse to play some drums there. Anyway, I spent way too much time fiddling around with this. They just sound so good because the velocity is used to actually change the sample that's played. Like this one. here's a good example. It's actually playing different samples. Really cool. Anyway, so we also wanted to look at MIDI input, and firstly though, let's look at MIDI input first. So on here, if I just turn this on, I'm using the throttle as a volume. It's a bit dark there, isn't it? Can you see that? So throttle about halfway is the volume, and then when I put this switch down, we got drums, huh? I was supposed to do this with the piano. Hold on. Alright, so it's going to play those notes there, but it's going to play them in that octave at about 50% volume or 100% volume. So just playing 3 notes. So obviously you wouldn't really use something like this. The point of having MIDI in capability like that, or from the point of view of the S-Bus mixer, it's MIDI out. But that would let you make some sort of a customized MIDI controller, basically something like this, except probably not quite so professional. But you could make your own custom inputs to make music with. I just used this because it had some convenient sort of inputs to use. You probably wouldn't be making things radio controlled. And just one other thing I wanted to show was that you can, of course, record MIDI. And I'm using this other thing. Unfortunately, GarageBand does not let you put MIDI out streaming through the USB. But this LMMS program does. So if I play this here. So this is just some chords that I recorded yesterday. Unfortunately, you see the lights are not going. For some reason, LMMS outputs the MIDI 1 octave lower, so I made it so that when I push this, we actually get the lights that we should be getting. So it's just looping those 4 chords. It's not very loud, is it? It's so quiet. Anyway, so you may be wondering, can we also record and play back automation or like sequences, if you will, for moving the servos? And I really wanted to show you that in this video, but I couldn't find a software that allows for recording and playing back the control channels, which is these ones here, and these dials here, which I don't know if you can see that very well, it's a bit dark, but there's a whole bunch of dials here you can set up with inputs. And so LMMS at least does let you record that, but it doesn't let you play them back out, unfortunately. I couldn't find any software that would let me do that. Just did a quick search for today's video, but there's probably something out there that would do it, and it wouldn't be too hard for me to make something like that, I think. Something that's a little bit more specific. But anyway, if you could do that, what it would let you do is control, well, you could get about 30-something servos out of the S-Bus mixer, and if the sequencing or the control was all coming from a MIDI track, it would be quite useful for animatronics and something like that, I think, especially paired with like radio control. Then you could control your puppet or whatever it is, you know, from a distance. Anyway, I think that's about all I have for this video. See you next time. There's got to be an easier way to do this.